mutual friend, and she said Tammy's house is all over the news.
Police confirmed for us within the last hour that 2 people are dead this morning at a Douglas County home.
Right then and there, I knew. I said he did it. He killed her.
I knew immediately. I knew he had killed them.
For months, Tammy and her husband Bob had been sheltering Amara Wells and living in fear that Tammy's brother Chris would attack them. And now, Amara and Bob had been brutally murdered. The police were sure it was Chris. There was only one problem. Chris was in jail.
Obviously, that was going to be our first suspect. To learn that he was in jail stopped us cold. We told him that, there had been some deaths in his family.
I want to know who did this, and I think you can help me.
I don't have any idea. Why would I have any idea?
Who would do this?
Of course, I mean, there are some family members that'll point to me.
He would start exaggerating being upset.
No.
Shaking his head and almost screaming and acting out.
This can't be happening. This can't be true.
But then the next second, he'd be calm.
Should I have my attorney here? Is he's going to be attorney kind of question?
It was an act. It was a complete and utter act.
The police start where Chris used to work. You don't expect to find what detectives will ultimately discover. 4 used car salesmen moonlighting at murder. The first one they interview is Micah Woody, son of a well-known local pastor.
Said or done anything that would suggest that he really disliked his wife?
Yeah, he would say, I hate her and that bitch, she's keeping my kid from me.
What about something like, I'm going to have that bitch killed, or...
No, he's never said that to me, actually.
At the crime scene, the police are looking at the evidence, and it speaks volumes to them.
It was very obvious that there had been a very large fight. Somebody had been pushed or shoved through, part of the drywall.
Returning to the car lot, the police notice that one of the salesmen, 26-year-old Josiah Scher, has cuts and bruises on his face. He's the father of several children and working on commission.
We knew that he had been in the military, clean cut, well-mannered, very likable person.
They arrest him the next day.
Josiah. Sir. Hey, Roger made some.
The police don't have enough to make the charges stick, but they're not telling that to Josiah.
So I'm already arrested for murder.
Oh, yeah.
Done.
Done deal.
Can I ask you how?
How what?
How me so quick?
You can ask, but I'm not going to tell you.
It turns out Chris Wells was willing to pay to have his wife and his sister killed. He asked Micah Woody, his co-worker, to set it up. All Micah had to do was look across the used car lot to find Josiah. You wouldn't think a used car dealership would be so full of human evil. Or maybe you would.
What did Micah exactly tell you?
Josiah Scher needed money. He had a child on the way. So the idea of getting real fast money is what drove Scher to commit these murders.
Josiah got a friend to help him, and on a cold January night, the 2 men drove to Tammy's house. They parked outside and got high on cocaine and speed to get up their nerve. Josiah sneaked inside and looked for his targets: Chris's wife, Amara, Chris's sister, Tammy, and Tammy's husband, Bob. The price for each one of those human lives, $5,000. He'd been told the most important thing was to kill Amara. He went to her bedroom first. She ran towards the stairs, and he shot her in the back.
Josiah heard a noise. That noise would have been Mr. Bob Rafferty. There was a huge fight. There were pieces of teeth laying around on the floor, indicating just a huge struggle.
Bob had a shotgun, but he missed. He kept fighting until Josiah shot him. Watching it all was Amara's 6-year-old daughter. Later, Tammy thought that Bob fought on to save the child.
One of the most beautiful things that we heard shortly after was from the sheriff, who said Bob was an incredible hero that night, that he fought with everything he had.
It was Bob's struggle that allowed Amara's daughter to get away from the killer. She was terrified, but she remembered the escape drills the family had practiced. Her presence of mind saved her life that night.
I have never seen a child go through such trauma and be so strong. That little girl is absolutely nothing more than amazing.
In the end, Chris's wife and brother-in-law lay dead. His sister was spared only because she was out of town.
How much money were you supposed to get?
$13,000.
What happened with that?
The wife was in town.
Oh, so to kill the other female there, it would have been an extra $5.
To spare Amara's daughter the trauma of testifying in court, the family decided to let Chris plead guilty and avoid the death penalty. In return, Chris had one condition. He wanted to tape a message to his daughter in a bizarre videotape.
Hi, it's Daddy. I'm filming this from jail. I can't tell you.
Put together a very short, cold videotape, basically, that he wouldn't be able to see her anymore, and that, oddly enough, that, you know, she should be a good girl and stay out of trouble and not do bad things.
Be respectful to all adults and try never to be mean to other kids. Always be a good girl.
He never apologized. It was as if he really doesn't even think he did anything wrong.
No emotion.
None.
He's without a soul. You know, you look at what he was able to do. He knew his daughter was in the house. He knew that war was going to be raged in that house, and she was there.
Chris got life in prison without parole, along with his co-worker at the used car lot, Josiah Scher. But even from behind bars, Chris Wells is a threat. Tammy says she's discovered that her brother's receiving money every month in prison, money she believes he earned from his drug dealing.
Christopher Wells is still dangerous. He's a man that can find desperate people like Josiah Scher to carry out his acts.
Amara Wells tried to escape Chris's control, and Bob helped her do it. Now they're both dead. Tammy defied her brother too. Today, she lives in fear.
I know what Chris does when he has access to money. His job isn't done. I think he wants to come after me because I wasn't home that night.
I think it is possible that Chris Wells may try to have somebody else threaten, scare, or maybe even harm, his family. I think Chris Wells is the type of person who won't stop.
For more on this story, you can go to our website at abcnews.com/2020.